This is the most dangerous fighter on the planet, Yuri Boyka. He's just out of a brutal Russian prison and ready to conquer the whole world. But even in his darkest dreams, he could never have imagined the challenges awaiting him on his journey to global dominance.
Boyka!
Now training and fighting in Kiev, Yuri is a man reborn. After enduring 10 relentless years in a maximum security prison where underground fights were his only ticket to survival, Boyka's hunger for greatness burns brighter than ever. While others might crumble under the weight of their past, Yuri's vision is crystal clear: real championship titles. But far from Kiev, deep inside the infamous Black Hills prison that forged Yuri's reputation, a new monster has risen. Known only as the Nightmare, this unhinged inmate is building his own empire of fear, ruthless, unpredictable, and deadlier than anyone Yuri has ever faced. One day, Yuri visits a local church to make a donation. He had funded the church's construction and seeks solace in religion, hoping to find redemption. The priest, however, questions his violent path, saying,
"Violence is not the answer."
Yuri disagrees, believing that his fighting abilities are a divine gift, and it would be a sin not to use them. Resolute, he continues training. Soon after, Yuri's manager, Kirill, informs him about an official qualifying fight for a European MMA championship. This is no underground brawl. Scouts will be watching to recruit top fighters. Determined, Yuri travels to Budapest with Kirill, aiming to make an impression. The fight begins with an electric buzz in the air. The crowd roaring as Yuri and his opponent face off in the center of the ring. From the first move, it's clear that Yuri's challenger is no ordinary fighter. His movements are sharp, calculated, and precise, forcing Yuri to stay on high alert. Each swing of his opponent's fists comes dangerously close, and Yuri struggles to dodge the relentless barrage of strikes. Beads of sweat form on his brow as he narrowly escapes several near knockouts, each moment drawing gasps from the crowd. Despite Yuri's legendary endurance, his opponent refuses to back down. The challenger's persistence begins to wear on him, and frustration starts to creep into Yuri's usually calm demeanor. His opponent's confidence only fuels Yuri's determination, and his movements grow more aggressive, his eyes locking onto the target like a predator stalking its prey. With a sudden surge of power, Yuri unleashes a devastating series of strikes. The impact is undeniable. His opponent collapses to the mat motionless. The referee steps in, declaring Yuri the victor, and the arena erupts in cheers. Yuri stands tall, his chest heaving, arms raised in triumph, knowing he's just proven why he's a force to be reckoned with. After the fight, scouts approach Yuri, praising his performance and inviting him to another tournament in Budapest in 2 weeks. Yuri eagerly agrees and receives his prize money from Kirill. As Yuri leaves the arena, he notices his opponent being carried away on a stretcher in critical condition, heading to intensive care. Troubled, Yuri recalls the priest's words about violence and begins to question himself. The next morning, Yuri wakes from a nightmare and heads to the gym to confront Kirill about the opponent's condition. Kirill dismisses Yuri's concerns, emphasizing that all fighters understand the risks. But when Yuri learns that his opponent was Victor, a man from the Russian town of Drovny, and sees a photo of Victor with his wife, he resolves to travel to Russia to atone.
Going to Russia.
Russia, are you crazy?
Undeterred by his fugitive status, Yuri demands forged documents and begins his journey. In Drovny, Victor's funeral takes place. A suspicious man approaches Victor's widow, cynically informing her that her husband's death doesn't absolve his debts and that she must now repay them. Meanwhile, Yuri crosses the Russian border with a fake passport and checks into a hotel. He visits the youth center where Victor's widow works, but before they can speak, men in a black car arrive and take her away. Yuri pressures a local security guard to reveal her whereabouts, learning that she has a second job at a mysterious location. Yuri follows the lead to a nightclub where underground fights take place. There, he observes the club's undefeated champion, Igor Kazmir, fighting with dirty tactics and arrogantly dominating the ring. Yuri also spots Victor's widow working as a waitress. He approaches her but is interrupted by the club's security, who escort him outside, warning him that she belongs to their boss and that Yuri is forbidden from approaching her. After being thrown out of the nightclub, Yuri Boyka is confronted by security guards. They provoke him, but Yuri swiftly takes them down. leaving them sprawled on the ground. The commotion draws the attention of a suspicious man, Zurab, who introduces himself as the club's owner and a local crime boss. Applauding Yuri's skills, Zurab offers him a spot in his underground fights. Yuri declines, stating that his only interest is in speaking with Alma, the waitress and Victor's widow. Zurab denies the request and orders his men to keep a close watch on Yuri. The following day, Yuri returns to Alma's workplace. After striking down one of Zurab's lackeys, he forces his way inside to meet Alma. At first, Yuri struggles to reveal the truth, instead offering his condolences and handing her a letter from her late husband. When Alma presses him on how he knew Victor, Yuri finally confesses that he was the one who fought Victor in Kyiv. Stunned and devastated, Alma rejects Yuri's offer of financial assistance, calling the money blood money and branding him a murderer. Meanwhile, Zurab is dissatisfied with his current crop of fighters and seeks a true champion to elevate his events into grand spectacles. His search is interrupted when Yuri arrives at the club, proposing a deal. He will fight in Zurab's ring in exchange for Alma's freedom. Zurab agrees but sets strict conditions. Yuri must win 3 fights within the week and face the club's reigning champion, Igor Kazmir. Zurab also reveals that he knows Yuri's real identity, showing that his influence extends even to discovering Yuri's forged documents.
My ring, my rules,
Zurab declares. After securing the agreement, Yuri calls Kirill to inform him that he'll need to delay his return. Despite Kirill's objections, Yuri is resolute and demands his ticket be rescheduled. The next day, Alma confronts Yuri outside his hotel, angrily accusing him of interfering in her life. She mistakenly believes Yuri's motives are romantic, but Yuri clarifies that he is here to save not her, but himself. The first fight arrives, and Zurab watches with satisfaction as Yuri prepares to face a strong and skilled opponent. Despite the initial challenge, Yuri quickly regains control and wins decisively, pinning his opponent and demonstrating his dominance. After the fight, Alma cautiously approaches Yuri to offer him water. Yuri asks her about a nearby gym, explaining that he doesn't want to train at Zurab's facility due to the unsavory crowd. Alma reluctantly allows him to train at the youth center where she works. The second fight turns out to be far more dangerous than Yuri anticipated. Moments before stepping into the ring, he learns that he won't be facing a single opponent, but 2, the notorious Ozerov brothers. Standing menacingly in the ring, the brothers exude confidence, their reputation as a deadly duo well earned. Zurab, with a sly grin, reminds Yuri,
my ring, my rules.
The 2-on-1 setup throws Yuri off balance at first, the brothers attacking with precision and synchronization that leave little room to breathe. Initially overwhelmed, Yuri is forced to dig deep. Observing their patterns, he begins to adapt, using his superior technique and quick reflexes to exploit their weaknesses. With calculated moves, Yuri systematically takes control of the fight, landing devastating blows on the brothers. However, the relentless nature of the battle starts to wear him down. At one point, one of the brothers delivers a crushing strike to Yuri's back, sending a sharp wave of pain through his body. Yuri winces, momentarily staggered, but refuses to give up. Summoning every ounce of his remaining strength, Yuri launches a furious counterattack. In a final, breathtaking sequence, he knocks both brothers to the ground, their bodies hitting the mat with a resounding thud. The crowd explodes into cheers as Yuri collapses to his knees, his chest heaving from exhaustion. His name echoes through the arena, chanted by a crowd that has just witnessed his unshakable willpower. Among them, Alma watches in awe, her perception of Yuri shifting as she sees not just a fighter, but a man of extraordinary determination and resilience. Meanwhile, Zurab meets with a corrupt police lieutenant in his office. Zurab demands that the officer bring him the Nightmare, a notorious inmate from the Black Hills prison, for an upcoming fight. Though hesitant due to past risks, the officer agrees after Zurab promises a significant reward, including the capture of Yuri Boyka. Unaware of Zurab's plans, Yuri continues his training. Alma visits him during his workout and offers to treat his injured back with a special herbal ointment. However, when Yuri asks why she doesn't leave the city, Alma takes offense and storms off. She reveals that the youth center is a dream she shared with her late husband, a dream they funded by borrowing money from Zurab, a decision that now ties her to the crime boss's control. Alma refuses to abandon the youth center and the children who attend it, calling the idea madness. When Zurab notices Yuri frequently visiting Alma's workplace, his jealousy flares. He confronts Alma, trying to turn her against Yuri by downplaying Victor's death, calling it an accident. Meanwhile, Kirill calls Yuri, informing him that Budapest is plastered with posters of his name and that everyone is eagerly awaiting his participation in the tournament. Yuri promises to be at the bus station by 9 p.m. that evening. However, upon returning to his hotel room, he finds Alma waiting for him. She demands to know the truth about what happened during Victor's final fight. Even if it wasn't an accident, she insists she needs to hear it. Reluctantly, Yuri opens up about his past. He confesses to having done terrible things that landed him in prison, where he became a hateful man full of anger. It wasn't until he found faith in God that he began to change. Yuri describes how, during the fight with Victor, he stopped seeing his opponent as a person and only saw an obstacle standing in the way of his dream. Though he knows his explanation cannot bring Alma peace, Yuri expresses his deep remorse. The moment arrives for Yuri's highly anticipated showdown against Igor Kazmir, the reigning champion of the club and a fighter notorious for his ruthless tactics. The fight begins with an intensity that grips the crowd, Kazmir wasting no time in exploiting Yuri's weaknesses. Spotting Yuri's injured back, Kazmir fights dirty, landing brutal strikes that send searing pain through Yuri's body. Each blow pushes Yuri closer to his limit, his strength waning under the relentless assault. At one point, Yuri collapses to the mat, struggling to rise. Sensing victory, Kazmir begins to celebrate prematurely, taunting the crowd as he continues to pummel Yuri's back. The champion's overconfidence seems to signal the end for Yuri, who lies motionless for a moment, fighting the urge to give up. Then, through the chaos of the arena, Yuri catches a glimpse of Alma in the crowd. Her worried expression pierces through his despair, igniting a spark of determination deep within him. With a roar of effort, Yuri pushes himself to his feet, the crowd erupting in shock. Kazmir, caught off guard, barely has time to react before Yuri launches a ferocious counterattack. Fueled by sheer willpower, Yuri unleashes a series of devastating blows that leave Kazmir staggered and disoriented. The tension peaks as Yuri delivers a final powerful kick to Kazmir's head, sending him crashing to the mat. The crowd explodes into cheers as the referee raises Yuri's hand in victory. Exhausted but triumphant, Yuri looks out into the crowd, locking eyes with Alma, who now sees him in an entirely new light. Surrounded by fans chanting his name, Yuri believes his deal with Zurab is complete, and he can finally leave for Budapest. However, Zurab has other plans. Feigning ignorance, he claims that their agreement included 3 fights and that Kazmir wasn't the club's true champion. Instead, Zurab introduces a new fighter, the Nightmare, a monstrous opponent twice Yuri's size. Alma, seated beside Zurab in the VIP section, looks on with growing concern as the fight begins. In the opening seconds, the Nightmare lands a crushing blow, sending Yuri sprawling to the mat. His mouthguard flies out, skidding across the ring as the crowd erupts into wild cheers, confident the fight is already over.
For the main event of the night, a true monster fresh out of prison.
Zurab's smug grin stretches wider as he watches his champion's apparent victory. But as the Nightmare revels in the moment, Yuri's fingers twitch. Slowly, against all odds, he pushes himself up, each movement a battle against the searing pain in his back. When his eyes meet Alma's anxious gaze in the crowd, her worry ignites a fire deep within him. Zurab's mocking smile only steals Yuri's resolve. The Nightmare charges again, relentless in his assault, exploiting Yuri's weakened state. Every strike tests Yuri's limits, yet he refuses to yield. The pain is excruciating, but he fights through it, his movements growing sharper with every passing moment. As the Nightmare begins to tire, Yuri spots an opening. With precision and fury, he delivers a flurry of bone-crushing punches to his opponent's chest, the force of each blow echoing through the arena. The Nightmare stumbles, disoriented, and Yuri doesn't let up. He takes the fight to the ground, locking his arms around his opponent. Fierce grapple, summoning the last reserves of his strength. Yuri secures a devastating submission hold. The Nightmare thrashes violently, his roars echoing in the stunned silence of the crowd. But Yuri's grip is like iron. With one final burst of effort, he tightens the hold, and the Nightmare's hand slaps the mat in submission. The referee signals the end, and the arena explodes in chaos. Yuri collapses to his knees, his body battered, but his spirit unbroken. Victorious but exhausted, Yuri exits the ring, only to be ambushed by Zurab's men with batons. He notices Zurab roughly grabbing Alma and dragging her away from the VIP section but is unable to intervene. Beaten and left on the ground, Yuri's lifeless appearance causes Alma to scream in terror, thinking he is dead. As the club descends into chaos, the panicked crowd rushes out, believing a police raid is underway. Though severely injured, Yuri manages to regain consciousness. He takes down Zurab's guards with surprising ferocity, but not before being shot by one of them. Zurab, hearing the gunfire, grabs a pistol and attempts to escape the club with Alma. Yuri pursues him, engaging in a gunfight along the way and sustaining additional injuries. Despite this, Yuri manages to catch up to Zurab just as he reaches his car. Alma and Yuri are left alone after the confrontation. Alma begs Yuri to seek medical help, but he refuses, his focus unwavering. Summoning his courage, Yuri asks her if she can ever forgive him. Despite his injuries, Yuri Boyka does not get the chance to hear Alma's long-awaited words of forgiveness. Accepting his fate, he surrenders to the police. Once again, Yuri finds himself imprisoned in the infamous Black Hills Penitentiary. 6 months pass before Alma visits Yuri for the first time. She apologizes for not coming sooner, explaining that she wasn't ready at first. Initially, she had been consumed by anger toward Yuri. However, his actions showed her that goodness still exists in the world. Alma thanks Yuri for restoring her freedom and dignity. Finally, she speaks the words he has been longing to hear.
I forgive you.
With Alma's forgiveness, Yuri's turbulent journey comes to an end. For now, the creators of the franchise hint at an upcoming series, leaving fans eager to discover what lies ahead for Yuri Boyka.